This is awesome. You guys, we're doing an event in this space. Are you kidding me? 3 years ago, I got to share. It's funny, there was a picture when we were sharing we were going to do this first time, and they superimposed a picture of me standing right here as a photo taken this way, and I was like, maybe that's going to happen someday. And there was definitely moments where I wasn't sure it was going to happen, but I am so thankful you're here today. Last night, I was sitting right here, like looking, seeing all the bags, and I was like, wow, we're really going to do an event, an in-person event. How does that feel? Feels good, doesn't it? It's complicated still, I know that, and all those things, but it just feels good to host all of you guys here. Today is the 12th time we've done Plywood Presents, and what that means is I'm getting older, so that we've done this a lot of times, and each experience has been unique and different all along the story, and the last 2 years since the last time we were all together here, there was some great celebrations we had. We opened up this space and had a huge party here, and on that bar, I'll never forget, it was the largest charcuterie I've ever seen in my life. The whole bar was a charcuterie. I don't know if we'll ever be able to do that again. That might have been the one time that we could pull it off. We had a big party, and we had all this momentum, and then 2 weeks later, we had to close the doors, right? And in the midst of the last 2 years, my wife and I wrote a book and launched a book together, and that was a weird thing to do in the midst of a pandemic. And I know you guys all have your own stories about what has happened and transpired in your work and in your business and in your passions and in your purpose over the last 2 years. And today I wanted to share a really personal story that happened within me. Those are celebratory moments, but for me, I also had some really hard moments in the last couple of years, and I have a feeling you guys can probably relate with that a little bit. And it was specifically 2 years ago at this event that I had one of my hardest moments, which was interesting because it started bringing everything back up again this past week. It was the third day of the event. This year we're doing one long day, but we did 3 days last time. And I had gotten here early. It was 6:30 in the morning. I got here early to open the doors and get coffee started. And because that's what you do when you're in charge, I guess. You nominate yourself to open up the doors. Anyway, so I got here, let the people in that were doing the coffee, and then we had a green room over there at Monday night. And I walked in, and I was by myself, and the weight of all the work that I was doing overwhelmed me. So I had a breakdown that day. It was 6:30 in the morning. In the green room, and I fell to the floor and was weeping, and Kayla, many of you guys know Kayla, is my assistant and incredible friend in all the work that we do. She found me, and it's the first time that I had kind of that personal, overwhelming anxiety just really overtake my body. In the midst of it, what was happening is I was raising money for this building, not knowing if it would actually come in. We had already started construction on the building, not knowing when we would actually be able to move in. We had ended our lease at our previous location, not knowing where we were going to, work the next week. We had changed the programming for this whole event, which was crazy that week, and that was overwhelming. And I was writing a book of my wife, which that's maybe the most overwhelming thing, to try to write something with your partner. All these things were compounding, and I was feeling the weight on my shoulders. And it overtook me. It overtook me in that moment. And I had to change some things about myself, and I had to kind of have some honest moments with myself in the middle of it. And so 2 years later, I wanted to share a little bit about what I've learned through that experience with all of you today. I think one thing that I realized is that I'm not the only one this happens to. And you may all have your own story about the weight that you feel in your purposeful work and how sometimes that can just overtake you. So I want to explain to you a little bit that happens through my head. And this is a little intense. I don't know if any of you can relate with this moment, but I'm going to explain it to you in detail. So I'm going to read it, and you're going to see it on the screen, and it's going to be kind of ridiculous. So here we go. So this is the weight that I feel. It usually starts in a random situation. I'm sitting by myself on a couch, and it happens in a compounding way. And I start thinking about something as simple as the programming of our organization. So leading the programming. And then I start thinking, is our program actually working? And this is through the lens of a nonprofit leader, just so you know. If you're in a for-profit, I have a feeling it's very similar, but a little bit different questions, but I think you could relate with some of this. So then I start thinking, is it actually working? Then I think we need to innovate our programming. And then I think, well, if we're going to innovate our programming, we need to start at the core of the organization. So we need to grow our board and really get them engaged. And then I wonder if our board actually even likes being on our board and if they're happy doing the work that they're doing with me. And then it leads me to question this bigger question is, I wonder if our organization is actually going to sustain, and if our board wonders if it's actually going to sustain. And then it reminds me that I need to find new talent and great talent both for the board and our staff. So I need to recruit better people to be able to sustain the organization. Then I need to just find new talent. Instead of just finding new talent, maybe I need to retain the talent that we currently have. I'm wondering if any of them actually are enjoying the work that they're doing and keep them longer. And then I think, well, I can't afford the actual talent that we probably need. And so maybe I need to recruit more volunteers to support the work that we're doing. And then I think if I'm going to attract more volunteers, I need to address and motivate them and address the vision that we have. So then I start rethinking about the vision, and then I think I need to cast a better vision, maybe even a new vision, maybe even a bigger vision for what we're doing. And if I have a bigger vision, I need to attract new donors because a new vision is going to cost more money. Is anyone relating with this moment? Okay, well, let's keep going, because I'm not even done. I'm not even halfway, okay? So then we start thinking I need to have a bigger vision to attract those new donors, which reminds me that I need to plan the fall fundraiser that was on the calendar. So in the midst of the fall, when I'm thinking about programming, it's all the way leading to board, vision, fundraising, and then I think I need to send a save the date. That's what I need to do, is send a save the date for the fall fundraiser. And then I think, I wonder if the donors that came to the event last year are going to come this year. And if they don't come to the thing this year, then I need to attract more donors to match the people that we lost, and then to find more because we have a bigger vision. And then I think I need to track the donors. How am I doing on track the donors? So then I think we need a new CRM to track the donors. And then I think to myself very clearly, and everyone can agree with this, what does CRM even stand for? And then I think we have a CRM, but I can't remember the password to get into it. And then I wonder if anyone is actually maintaining the CRM to get the information that we need, which reminds me, I need to run payroll this afternoon. And then I wonder, at what point is the payroll leading to our audit? Have we done the paperwork with the IRS to be able to fulfill the audit and the payroll and all the things? And then I think, if I didn't do the paperwork, am I going to jail? And then it happens really fast. All this stuff goes through my head really fast. And then I think, did we get the giving receipts to everybody this past spring? And then, what would be good to fund this new vision is, a starting place could be, I need to write a social media post. This could just solve this if I just do a social media post. Then I think about some workshop I was at, and they were telling me I need to outsource the social media and find someone to hire at a fractional rate to do the social media. And then I think, what does a job description look like for someone that I'm hiring to do a fractional social media person? Then I think, what do you actually pay someone that does a fractional social media? I'm not done. Stay with me here. And then I think, well, maybe if I hire this social media person and figure out something to pay them, they can do a social media fundraiser on my behalf, and it would be so successful that then they could pay for their new position. And it just goes on and on, right? And then in the midst of it, I think, well, I wonder what my wife's doing right now. And then I think, I wonder if my kids are still on Zoom in the classroom from the last year, or are they playing video games while doing it, right? This is the weight of the work that we do. It starts with a simple question of, is our programming working? And next thing you know, it leads to fundraising campaigns and social media hires and all these different things. And it's like, your questions might look a little different, but how many can relate with this overwhelming amount of weight that we feel in doing and leading the work that we are pursuing? The weight of our work is too heavy to carry alone. That's the first thing I learned from that experience. I think on the front end, a lot of people look at me as like, hey, Jeff, you're around here. You're pretty cool, calm, collected kind of guy, pretty casual. But the reality is inside, I have a lot of anxiety and I have a lot of stress, and I want to meet all of your expectations. And that's a lot. That's a lot to carry. It's a lot. So as I've been on this journey the last couple of years, one thing that I learned is this idea of passion that we all have. I think a lot of these projects started with something that someone told you to pursue this passion work. You're passionate about this thing, why don't you go pursue it? You're passionate about this thing, why don't you go do it? You're passionate about this, go pursue it. And I think that's actually a really exciting thing at first. When we think about passion, we usually think of this thing that brings us joy, right? This thing that brings us life, this thing that is so encouraging. But when you define passion, it actually means to suffer. The definition of passion is to suffer. And I didn't realize that until the midst of the last couple of years as I've been on this journey, because passion work is really fun on the outside until you actually give your life to it. And then you hit walls. You hit walls all the time because it's freaking hard to bring things into existence. It is really hard to keep going through these hard seasons. And you will feel it. We talk about it as a team a lot of times because all these people come through our programming and a lot of the projects don't make it. And why is it? Because they hit a wall at some point. It could be funding. It could be access. It could be something that just doesn't work. And that's the difference usually between a passion startup project and a purposeful work people are giving their life to. If it's part of your purpose, you are going to work through the seasons of suffering, the seasons of hurt, the seasons of hardship, the brick walls in front of you to actually not give up and to keep going. And I was in that season 2 years ago. I'm like, maybe I'm not the person to keep doing this. Maybe I've come as far as I can go in this work, and maybe I need to let go of it. And you might be in a season like that right now. You might be trying to figure out what's next for you. You might be thinking, this new beginning is great. I can finally quit my job and go pursue this passion work. But let me tell you, it's going to be hard. It's part of the process. This maybe isn't the most motivational talk ever, but it is part of it. It is part of it. It is hard work to bring these things into existence. So I've learned 4 things in the midst of the last 2 years that I want to share that have helped me through this process. And I'll say this, these are not meant to be prescriptive. These are just some things that have helped me in the middle of it. And before I do that, I want to say one other thing. There's a guy that will speak the next session. His name's Miles Adcox. He's from Onsite. In the midst of all this hard place I was in, I had some people that really loved me and chose to invest in me and told me to go to this place called Onsite. And so I was there for a week, cut off from all of work. At first, I thought those friends were punishing me, but I realized they really love me. And in the midst of this work, we have to care for ourselves, because if we are not caring for ourselves as leaders, as entrepreneurs, as nonprofit leaders, it will show in the product that we create for others. It won't be able to grow. And so the first thing that I learned was that, you can put this up there, Patrick, is the check-in. What is the story you're telling yourself? And again, I want to be very clear. I am not a therapist. I'm not a professional in these, but these are some things I learned in my journey. So this concept of what is the story I tell myself? So what I read to you a second ago, this was the first time I actually did this. I was like, okay, what is the story I'm telling? What just went through my head when I got overwhelmed? And I wrote it all out. And then I looked at it and I was like, this is crazy. It started with programming, and I started worrying about a CRM. Like, how does that happen so fast? Which was really healthy for me. Because I started realizing, okay, I need to break this out and give myself a little grace and let's just attack one of the things, not my entire organization in a 5-minute couch session by myself, right? Like, what is the story you're telling, and is it actually true? Is it actually true? You can ask that to yourself, or you could ask someone that you really love and loves you to give feedback on that. The second thing relates to that. It's share the load. Who do you trust? One of the things that I've learned about myself and other creative entrepreneurs is the longer you are creating things, the less people you actually trust, because it's very common that someone took advantage of an idea you had in the past. Whether they made money off of it, whether they stole it, whether they copied it, whatever it is, it happens. If you are this creative individual, you start sharing stories, and then it gets taken from you in some way. And so that's happened to me over and over and over again. And so over time, I used to be super extroverted, and I'm still, I can talk a good game with all of you guys, but I'm more introverted now with my ideas. So I started realizing I wasn't trusting the people that actually really, really loved me to help me in these really challenging seasons. And so I started writing down a few really incredible people in my life that I trusted. Those people stepped in 2 years ago and walked with me through that season. So who do you actually trust? The third thing is to ask the hard question. I think this is the hardest thing for adults to answer. When I asked my son Nico, he's 8, what do you want for your birthday? He's got 3 video games. He's ready to rock and roll. He has answers. You could ask him today for anything, and he already has a plan. Kids can answer this question so easily. Adults, this is the hardest question to answer, because in the midst of what you're leading, the thing that you're doing, everyone has opinions. They all tell you what you should do, what you could do, and what you ought to do. But at the end of the day, what do you want to happen related to that specific tension or problem you're trying to solve? That's a hard. My wife asked me that recently, well, what do you want? I was like, I don't know. She's like, well, I cannot help you until you answer that question. What do you want? When I've been doing this for 12 years. What do I want in this for the next phase of this? It's a really hard question. What is my role in the mission? I don't always know that, but this is gonna be a hard thing for you to process in the midst of your work. And then lastly, be ready. So here's, I was maybe discouraging a little bit earlier when I'm like, when you do this purposeful work, you're gonna hit these walls, but it is gonna happen. I want you to know that. It's going to be hard. It's going to be harder than you think. It's going to cost more money. It's going to take more time. This building costs more money. This costs more time. Every single project, this is part of the reality. So be ready. Let's be honest. This is going to happen. So what can you do to prepare yourself? What can I do to prepare? I was not prepared 2 years ago for what I needed to stay healthy as a leader. So I started learning tools that work for me. My tools will not be the same as your tools. Through that on-site experience, again, Miles will share a lot about what they do. But it helped me start to really engage in daily meditation and super long walks and little things like that when my anxiety starts going up, my wife was like, you need to go for a walk. It gives her a tool to speak into and encourage me in what I need in those times. So do you have the tools for when those hard times are going to happen to care for yourself? Those are a few little things that I learned through this process. I hope Kayla doesn't find me again someday, but last week, I was prepping for this, and the anxiety started coming up again. It just happens, right? I started thinking, well, I wonder if I'm going to freak out again like I did 2 years ago. I started thinking about, are we doing enough? What if the pandemic happens? What if we could be, you guys saw it in my email, what if we're a super spreader? What if, the amount of questions I started to go through, I just started feeling all these things. And then I'm like, okay, what is the true story I'm telling myself, right? Walk it out, write it out, say it, see if it's actually true. Second, who are the people that I trust? I started texting some really close people and said, hey, just so you know, my anxiety's rising. And I need you to be checking on me, And then what do I really want? Does it matter? Like, I was like, at the end of the day, like, if people choose to watch online, it's kind of better because there's more space for everybody else. So that's kind of good. Like, what do I want out of this gathering? Or what am I freaking out related to this? And then lastly, what are the tools that I had to walk through? So daily, the last week as I started feeling that, I had tools to kind of respond to it. Anyway, I think this is the story that a lot of us are wrestling through constantly. And as a leader, I know oftentimes the things I'm struggling with, there's people in our community that are always struggling with it too, or working through it. Maybe struggle is the wrong word. And as you think about this theme, I think one thing that I've realized is it's continuous. If I have gone past this passion and it's moved to this purposeful work I'm giving a significant amount of my life to, then I am going to be battling this for a long time. And so I have to choose to begin again. After I've had this really hard season, I hit a wall, I wake up the next morning, and I'm like, am I going to do this again? Am I going to begin again? As the pandemic is coming back a second time, or whatever number of time it is now, are we going to begin again? Are we just going to get overtaken by it? Are we going to be willing to pivot through this next season, whatever that looks like? Are we going to have a plan? Are we going to do this again? Like, this is a hard question. Sometimes it's like, no, I'm out. I'm over with that. I need a new beginning. I need a fresh start. Or it's in the same purposeful work we're doing. I need a fresh start in this. I need to begin again here. And the discouraging, maybe motivating, I don't know, is this next slide where it's really, it doesn't end. I opened up the journal this week and I remember I had seen the image, but I was like, whoa, this is it. This is the story of every entrepreneurial person I've worked with. It's like, the question is, are you going to do it again and again and again and again and again and again? It just keeps coming. I feel like I've said this one time to someone on my team. I was like, I feel like I've experienced every bad situation that I could ever. And then the next week, like, something surprises me. Have you ever been, it's like, man, I thought we had gone through everything you possibly could, and then this crazy situation happens, Like, that's part of the story. And we do it because it's gone beyond just a passion. It's like, no, this is part of why I do it. This is part of who I am. This is what I'm made to do. And that's going to be part of your story. I don't know if it's the project you're working right now or if it's the next one, but you're going to find something that takes you beyond just the challenges and makes you push through. It's probably part of your own personal story. It makes you go further. It makes you begin again. Because why? Because it's that important, right? To begin again and again and again and again. Can I hear you? And again and again and again. Thank you.